presence of the Lord.
Yeah.
I'm here with my teammate, Chad Pasley, in a familiar setting. He was our quarterback, but he was also our punter. But being a punter and a quarterback means he may not have been one to take too many licks, so they had to put people in front of him to protect him. So I was his protector, and he was a punter. Wally did the same thing for me on the defensive side of the ball. I played defensive back, Wally played defensive tackle. And yes, to GT's statement, he was just joyfully laughing and smiling in the hot August sun in Atlanta, Georgia, wearing number 79, and being from LA, he wasn't quite used to that Georgia heat. And we used to have a drill called an angle drill. Now, for those that are not familiar with football, let me see if I can do it for the academic side of it. So, you have that X and Y kind of thing, and then you want the thing to meet like this at that precipice. The angle drill is that. A running back would run around the sideline, and we as the defense had to chase him down at an angle before he got to the end zone. Well, sometimes we would have some enthusiastic non-players that wanted to show that they were worthy of maybe playing, and by Wally being a defensive lineman on the opposite side of the field, he might have to run a little bit further. So we got back to the huddle one time, and he's bent over, tired, and he's like, Chiz, hey man, I can't do this no more. And I was like, Wally, what's wrong, man? You right at the first line. He's like, dude, you too far. You gotta help me. I was like, say no more. So they do it to both sides. So they come to Wally's side, to our side this time. So as the enthusiastic young man comes around, I pretty much cold cock him and knock him to the ground. Wally jogs over, touches him and says, I appreciate you, dog. That's what we did for each other. At Morehouse College, meeting him in August of 1987, unbeknownst to me, was probably one of the better days of my entire life. Fast forward to August 2004. That was the month I got married to my wife, who was from LA, went to uni. All the LA folks know University, high school here. That was my first time to LA, to come here for my wedding in 2004. Wally picked me up from the airport, and all those years we spent in Morehouse, he never knew that I had never been to LA. And he said, what? Oh, you about to see LA. Her mom lived in Calabasas. So LAX to Calabasas is usually the 405, 101, blah, 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 blah. Wally took me service streets. And, he took me through all his Baldwin Hills and Fox Hill. That's where Ricky got shot. And I said, hey man, was that place in Training Day for real? He looked at me and said, tick, 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 tick. Turned that car around and took me straight to the jungle. I mean, it was about 11:30 in the morning, so I think we were okay. But we drove all up in there. He was like, yeah, that's where Alonzo got shot in the house. I was like, I appreciate it, but can we go? I'm from the south side of Chicago, so I'm pretty well versed in that whole piece. But Wally was that guy. Exactly. I mean, GT hit it on the head. I mean, he made you feel included. He was the guy that if you were at someplace and he walked in, you're like, Wally's here. Thank God. Now I have somebody to talk to, and that won't judge me, make me feel good. I'm gonna leave out the bulk of that good stuff that we had, the days at Fat Tuesdays, eating the onion. That's the first guy I've ever seen eat a purple onion like an apple. I mean, like, my father was from Mississippi, and he's probably the most country guy I've ever known. Well, Walter Cathey from Los Angeles, California, eating an onion like an apple. But he was that guy, that skull, always had him to chew, and that CRX with partial brakes on. Ride open down Peachtree Road with the sparks flying out. That's how Wally lived his life. Wide open with the sparks flying out and making sure So I'm going to turn it over to Chad, and thank you, Mackie, Blakely, and Chase. You know, it's been an honor watching you guys grow up. So to you guys, Uncle Chaz will always be here.
Good afternoon. Mackie, Blakely, Chase, family, and friends. I come to you today with my deepest sympathies, heartfelt condolences for the loss of your husband, dad, son-in-law, brother-in-law, nephew, uncle, cousin, friend, you name it. My name is Chad Pasley. Wally is my friend. He's my Morehouse brother, my former roommate, and the best man in my wedding. But let me address Mackie and the kids. Mackie, my heart breaks for you. While we're all happy that Wally is no longer suffering, I know you lost your best friend, your confidant, partner, and husband. I pray that you will feel God's love, His peace, and His grace while you grieve your loss. I remember the overwhelming joy Wally felt the day you two married. The other groomsmen may remember the tears Wally shed before we all came together for the ceremony. I'm sure it was because what that moment meant to him and all the emotions that he was feeling. But ultimately, I believe it was because he was about to marry the love of his life. And maybe there were a few butterflies, but that's not what he said. Blakely and Chase. There was a time where your dad and I used to talk almost every Friday on the way home from work, at the end of our day, at the end of our week. We would talk about everything from books we were reading to challenges in the workplace to, of course, sports and politics. But what I remember most are the conversations we would have about our growing families, which meant we would talk about you. One of the things you should know is that we will ever be linked between Wally, my family, and yours. You see, Wally's birthday is the same birthday as my first son, Bryce. So each April 30th, I got to enjoy and celebrate my son's birthday. But at the same time, I was reminded to call and talk to Wally for his birthday. The reason I tell you this is because I remember on one of those Friday calls where he shared the excitement and expectation of the arrival of his firstborn, Blakely. I also recall the phone call where he shared the challenges that doctors said might come with Blakely's birth. But what I remember most was how regardless of the news, your dad was unwavering in his commitment to his love for his baby girl, whatever the outcome. Well, it didn't take long to know the doctors were wrong. Likely you were born this beautiful baby girl. Likely from the time you were conceived, your dad loved you. And now, your dad couldn't be more joy-filled with the young woman you've become. And Chase, I can remember the call of your impending birth and the subsequent conversations where he would tell me about how he got the child every parent always warns them of, a child just like them. Chase, your dad would often share stories of your antics and your energy, but most of all, the excitement around the things that you were doing and how he loved you just the way you were and the man you would one day be. We often shared stories about how our households were growing and how the kids were doing. There was always so much pride in his voice. I can even remember a time where he was telling me, Blakely, how you were teaching yourself how to play the piano. I know you know this, but your dad is looking down on the two of you so proud of what you're both becoming. But now it's time to do your part, to be the best human you can be. I want to conclude my remarks with just 3 times where I remember my friend Wally the most. Like I said, Wally was the best man in my wedding. Wally was surprised that I chose him, mainly because we were only roommates for 2 years while we were in college. You see, Tim Gray and I, one of our other roommates, were roommates for almost 5 years. And we shared an apartment, Wally and I.